Hi, my name is Serena Caldwell. I was 38 the night my father erased 16 years of my life with a single toast. We stood in the grand rotunda marble gleaming under chandeliers. Generals lined like statues in pressed dress blues. It was supposed to be a gala honoring distinguished service. For me, it was supposed to be the one moment my father might finally say my name with pride. But when he raised his glass, his voice rang like steel. To those who served with honor. To the men who carried the burden. The men. Not me. Not Ghost Team 7. Not the women who bled beside me. The room clapped. I stood frozen, a ribbon on my chest heavy as lead, my throat dry as dust. And then he looked at me, not as a daughter, not as a soldier, but as a stain he needed scrubbed out of the family record. I'd survived firefights in Kandahar, raids in Fallujah, nights under tracer fire, but nothing pierced like that smile, the one that said, "You don't exist." And if that moment shattered me, what came next nearly silenced me forever. Looking back, the warning signs were always there. I just refused to believe them. When I was 12, I begged my father to watch me sing at the school talent show. He stood in the back for less than a minute, arms folded, eyes cold. Later that night, he said one sentence that carved itself into my bones. "Soldiers don't sing, not out here." I wasn't a soldier. I was just his daughter. But to him, being a Caldwell meant toughness, silence, obedience. At West Point, when I graduated top of my class, he shook my hand the same way he shook every cadet's. No hug, no smile. Just a grip that said, "Good. Now don't embarrass me." Even when I deployed, 16 years, 4 tours, he never asked how I slept at night or what ghosts came home with me. Instead, he introduced me to colleagues as my daughter. She followed orders. Not she saved lives. Not she carried men twice her weight out of fire. Just she followed orders. And every time he said it, I shrank a little smaller. Because if the man who built me from the ground up refused to see me, then who would? The silence wasn't just at home. In my family, Julia, my younger sister, was the golden one. She had the soft laugh, the polished nails, the piano recitals that brought Mom to tears. I was the shadow, the rough edge, the daughter who was useful but never enough. For years I told myself it didn't matter, that medals and ribbons would fill the cracks. But they didn't. They just gave my father more ammunition to use against me. And when he used those same weapons at the gala, turning my service into his punchline, I realized the battlefield I'd been fighting wasn't overseas. It was home. After the gala, silence followed me home like a shadow I couldn't shake. The press clippings praised my father's speech. The photographs showed Julia on his arm, radiant as ever, while I lingered blurred in the background. As if even the cameras had been trained not to see me. I told myself to move on. But the humiliation gnawed at me. Nights were the worst. When the house was still, I'd hear the words again. To the men who carried the burden. 16 years reduced to a single erasure. My name scrubbed from the toast. My life rewritten without me. And yet, every time I thought about calling him out, I froze. Because that's what he expected. His soldier daughter losing discipline. And I couldn't give him that satisfaction. So I stayed quiet. Observed. Collected pieces. That's when I noticed the pattern. Julia's name kept appearing in places mine should have been. Charity galas. Press releases. Even on a draft program for a veterans fundraiser where I was meant to perform. Her photograph had replaced mine. Same spot, same caption, just her face smiling back. At first, I thought it was a mistake. But then I saw the email. It wasn't addressed to me. It was forwarded by my father's aide, meant for Julia. Subject line, "Your performance slot confirmed. General Caldwell will make the introduction." Performance slot. For the anthem I had been asked to sing. Julia wasn't a soldier. She wasn't there in Kandahar or Fallujah. She never lost friends in dust and fire. But she was the one he wanted on stage. Because Julia made him look polished. And I made him look human. That was the night I stopped wondering if my invisibility was an accident. It wasn't. It was strategy. My father was using me, my silence, my endurance, as the scaffolding to build Julia higher. And suddenly, the memories snapped into place. The talent show. The cold handshakes. The speeches where he praised the men. Every slight wasn't random. It was rehearsal. And I had been playing my part too well. But I wasn't ready for what came next. When he used my own scars as the weapon to finish the job. It happened 3 nights later. Another banquet. Another stage I never asked for. The invitation read, "Honoring Heroes of the Decade." But when I arrived, my name wasn't on the program. Julia's was. I sat at the table near the back, metal biting into my collarbone, as Julia floated toward the podium in a gown that shimmered under the lights. My father walked beside her, hand raised, the the perfect general presenting his perfect daughter. "Ladies and gentlemen," he boomed, "tonight you will hear a voice that carries our family's legacy." Legacy. As if mine had never existed. Julia began to sing. The opening bars hit me like gunfire. It wasn't just a song. It was our song. The anthem of Ghost Team 7. The one we whispered in tents before dawn, sang under our breath when mortar fire shook the ground. The one forbidden at funerals because it belonged only to us. And now, my sister's voice was wrapping itself around those words she'd never earned, handed to her like a party favor. I felt the blood drain from my face. How did she even know it? Then I saw it. Projected behind her on the massive screen. A photo of me. 4 lines in my arm. Hospital gown. Pale from the surgery I never told the world about. Leaked without my consent. The caption read, "Recovered, thanks to family strength." Family strength. As if the very people who abandoned me in silence had nursed me back. As if my scars were nothing but a prop for their stage. Laughter rippled softly through the crowd. Not cruel, but careless. The kind of laugh that told me they saw me not as a soldier, not even as a woman, but as a story my father had rewritten. My chest burned. My ears rang. Every instinct screamed to stand. To scream, to rip the microphone from her hand. Instead, I stood, not to run, but to face the hall. I began to sing. Not Julia's borrowed melody. Not the polished version my father scripted. The real anthem. The raw, unpolished verses Ghost Team 7 carried into fire. The room froze. Glasses stilled midair. Even Julia faltered, her voice trembling into silence. My father's jaw locked. I knew then he hadn't expected this. Because this song, sung by me, wasn't erasure. It was resurrection. And when General Wexley rose from his chair, the truth my father buried finally clawed its way back into the light. The last note hung in the air like smoke after an explosion. For a heartbeat, the hall was silent. Then came the sound of a chair scraping back. General Wexley, silver hair, rows of ribbons across his chest, rose slowly to his feet. His eyes fixed not on Julia, not on the crowd, but on me. "I know that song," he said, his voice steady, carrying across the marble. "Ghost Team 7, Operation Iron Dagger, the anthem no one outside those walls should know." Gasps rippled through the audience. My father's face tightened, but he stayed standing, hands behind his back, as if discipline could hold the walls from collapsing. Wexley stepped forward. "You were there," he said to me. "You led the breach when comms failed. You carried 2 of my men out of fire." His words struck harder than any round I'd ever taken. Because for 16 years the truth had been buried. And now, in front of everyone, it was undeniable. All eyes swung to my father. Waiting. Measuring. He cleared his throat, tried to twist the story. "My daughter. She exaggerates her role. Ghost Team 7 was disbanded for a reason." But Wexley cut him off. "Disbanded? No. Buried. Erased. Because acknowledging them meant admitting the cost. Men, and women, sacrificed. Written out to protect a career." The word career landed like a hammer. I saw the first cracks in my father's armor. His gaze flicked toward Julia, who stood frozen, clutching the microphone like it was a lifeline. My voice shook, but I didn't stop. "For years you told me I was nothing more than a follower. That my medals didn't matter. That soldiers don't sing. But tonight, this song proves what you tried to hide. I was there. We were there. And you can't erase us." Murmurs spread like fire. Reporters scribbled furiously, cameras pivoted, lenses zooming in. The perfect image my father built was collapsing in real time. He tried one last weapon. "You think one song will undo me?" he hissed. I looked straight at him, every ounce of fear burned away. "No, but truth will." And with those words, I handed the microphone, not back to Julia, not to the program director, but to General Wexley. The weight shifted instantly. The room no longer belonged to my father. It belonged to the truth he had tried to bury. And when the inquiry came, the cost of his silence would finally come due. The inquiry didn't take months. It took weeks. Files once sealed were pulled into daylight. Names of men and women, my friends, restored to the record. Ghost Team 7 no longer a rumor whispered in bars, but a unit written back into history. My father sat before the panel in full uniform, stars heavy on his shoulders. But his words carried no weight. Every denial met with paper, signatures, proof. Every attempt to shift blame unraveled under the weight of testimony. Julia didn't sing at banquets anymore. The invitations stopped coming. Her smile faded from the photographs that once lit the society pages. As for me, I didn't need applause. I didn't need the podium. What I needed was silence. The kind of silence that honors the fallen, not the kind that erases them. One night, Weeks later, I stood alone at Arlington. The sun had slipped low, shadows stretching across rows of white stone. I placed a single coin at the base of a headstone, one of ours. Then I whispered the song, the real one. Soft, raw, unbroken. For the first time, I didn't feel invisible. I felt seen, not because of a father who refused to acknowledge me, not because of medals or microphones, but because I finally chose to stop asking permission to exist. If you've ever been silenced, told your voice didn't belong, remember this. Your story doesn't disappear just because someone powerful wants it buried. Truth waits. And when you speak it, no matter how long it's been, it can shatter walls built to contain it. I was Serena Caldwell, soldier, daughter, ghost. And now, I am my own witness. Have you ever had someone try to erase your story? Wherever you're watching from, morning coffee or late night quiet, I'd like to hear your story in the comments. Because silence only protects the guilty. And if this one stayed with you, subscribe to join a community that believes strength isn't silence, it's knowing when to speak. Because voices like ours deserve to be heard.